Morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Jim Begley. I'm the chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors. I'd like to welcome everybody to the committee meetings this morning, May 1st, 2024. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. The safety briefing, I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety and Security, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for all individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning. Shane Dawkins, Safety Manager. We are currently located at 7350 World Communications Drive on the first floor in our M.U.D boardroom. Please note there are two exits out of this room. The first exit is located at the back of the room. The second exit is located at the door to my right. If you proceed out the door to my right and head down the hallway, you'll find the closest fire extinguisher, first aid kit, AED, and stop the bleed kit in case of an emergency. With that in mind, can I get a show of hands for all individuals that are currently CPR AED certified? That's great, thanks. If there were a medical emergency in this room for any reason today, the security staff at the front desk would contact 911 and then escort EMS services into this room to help resolve the matter. If there were a severe weather event, we would proceed out the door to my right, head down the hallway, and shelter in place. If we needed to evacuate this building for any reason today, we would proceed out the door to my right, take two left-hand turns, and then head over to the first floor of the parking garage for accountability. And that concludes today's safety briefing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Begley, Mark Doyle, good morning. Welcome to May, everyone. Little did we know last Friday when we had a major event in the lunchroom here that when the safety briefing was given that we would have, a couple hours later, we would have actually followed it. So I would reiterate that if there's a weather event, we entered the door to my left, Shane's right, and later that day, Mark Myers had some third-party folks in here, and they were sheltering in the hallway. So it's like one of those things on an airplane where you don't really pay attention, but actually it's very, very, very important. So just thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mark. Roll call, please.
Cook.
Present.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here. I'd like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. Accounts and expenditures will begin with the public hearing on the proposed updates to the billing price book, which will be presented by Manager of Financial Planning and Analysis Stephanie Lemons. This will be followed by an invitation for the public to comment. Ms. Lemons, welcome.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Lemons, Manager of Financial Planning and Analysis, and I'll be discussing the information behind tab 5 in your binders, which addresses updates to the billing price book. There are 4 documents behind this tab. The first item is a presentation that will be displayed on the screen and be the focus of the discussion this morning. The next item is the memo submitted to the committee outlining the changes being proposed, and behind that is the detailed list of the proposed prices. And finally, the resolution that you'll be voting on in the regular board meeting later this morning. So starting on page 2 of the presentation, I'll provide a little background information on the process. The billing price book establishes prices for various services and materials that we provide to our customers and contractors beyond the monthly fees charged for providing gas and water to their homes and businesses. These prices are typically updated annually, and with your approval, these prices will become effective on June 1st. The pricing is generally structured to recover the district's costs. The pricing includes the current average hourly wage rate of personnel performing the service, the average time required to complete each task, and the cost of materials sold or installed as part of the service. There are certain exceptions to this approach. First, there are certain items that are not cost-based, but are rather service fees intended to discourage undesirable behavior. An example of this is a service diversion charge. And there are also a few services that are intentionally priced below cost. One of the reasons what we have traditionally done this is to assist customers who are facing financial hardship. An example of this is the turn-on charge for collection accounts priority service that is priced below cost. In this case, we're turning on service for a customer after it has been turned off for non-payment. And I'll talk more about that fee later. Moving to page 3, This chart provides some context around the size of the revenue generated from the fees we're discussing today. In 2023, the district's consolidated gross revenue was $419.7 million. As indicated by the yellow slice on the chart, revenue generated from billing price book items totaled about $4.1 million, or 1% of total revenue. And although this is a relatively small percentage of total revenue, we do conduct a thorough review each year to ensure that our pricing methodologies are accurate and that prices charged for these services are reasonable. At this time, I'd like to take a minute to recognize Brandon Meisinger for his work on this project. Brandon is a senior financial analyst in the accounting department. The accounting department coordinates this annual review, and we work closely with many others across the district who provide input on these services that they perform on a daily basis to review and update the pricing. I'll now turn to the summary of frequently billed services on page 4. The first item addressed is field services labor. Many of the services we provide are performed by field service technicians, so these labor rates are a component of several other prices throughout the book. We are proposing to increase the rate by the following. The base rate for 30 minutes will increase to $122, and the hourly rate after the first half hour will increase to $178. Item number 2 is related to various charges to turn on gas and or water services. Items A and B are referred to as regular turn-on fees, either scheduled or unscheduled priority. We are proposing to increase these rates 2% to $102 and $129 respectively. This increase will assist the district in recouping the cost of the service, which is priced below cost. Item 2C, turn on gas and or water service after turn off for non-payment of bills or violation of district rules next day, is a turn on charge I mentioned earlier related to collection accounts. This price is below our cost, but will help to reduce the burden on many of our customers who are experiencing financial difficulties. We're proposing to hold this fee flat at $75. The next item, number 3, is the price for installation of a 3/4-inch water meter with ERT. These meters are installed in newly constructed homes and are typically charged to the builder and not directly to the homeowner. We're proposing to leave this price unchanged at $350. The last item is the fee for the tapping and inspection of a water main with a 1-inch corporation. We are also proposing to leave this price unchanged at $439. On the next page, I'd like to discuss a few of the more significant price increases being proposed. This is defined as those increasing more than $200 or more than 15%. And addressing these items specifically, we'll begin on the current page, which includes those recommended increasing by greater than $200 but less than 15%. These reflect the cost of the large water taps by size. The price includes the cost of materials, as well as water distribution and field service technician labor who perform this task. The increase is driven by the rising cost of materials for taps on the listed size of mains and increase in labor costs. At the time of purchase, the prices we are paying for these products are consistent with published industry data, such as the Producer's Price Index. And an important factor to note is that changes in prices year over year could result in increases or decreases in subsequent years. Turning to page 6, this reflects prices that we recommend increasing by greater than 15%. Item 1 reflects the cost of the gas meter replacement for residential gas service. This price includes the cost of the gas meter, as well as labor for the field service technicians who perform this work. The increase is driven by the increase in the cost of materials. And in addition, we typically report to you any new billing items being proposed. This year, we are not recommending any new fees to include in the billing price book. Finally, following board approval, we will place the revised billing price book on the external website with an announcement that the fees will change effective June 1st. This will allow customers and contractors to review pricing in advance of the June 1st effective date. Are there any questions?
Stephanie, just a quick question on the gas meter replacement. 24% increase, or labor increase is only about 1%, so that's all materials there?
It is all materials.
Meters went up that much?
On this one, there was an addition of the ERT on the meter that was not included in previous years that we are now including.
Okay. So all our meters have ERTs on them now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's the ERT?
I have it written down here.
In words.
Encoder, receiver, transmitter. So that's,
Okay, so that, the price of that, or the materials
Yes.
for that went up.
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, board members?
right.
Stephanie, thanks for the presentation. Is there any
you.
member of the public who would like to address the board on the changes that have just been discussed? Seeing none, we will move on. Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer Kendall Miner will now review the proposed capital expenditures. Good morning, Kendall.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman and directors of the board, good morning. On the capital expenditure letter for this month, for the month of May, we have 7 items for buildings, plants, and equipment, 2 items for system improvements. On the first slide that I'm going to present to you today, the Platte West security fencing. This is additional fencing that's needed at the Platte West water treatment facility. This is due to, a lot of residential construction in the area, making sure that the facility is safe and secure from, people coming in and off the site on the property. This fence is also, because we have chemicals on site, and we do have to make sure that we maintain those things in safekeeping, as well as just, this is a more of a decorative fence, but it's an anti-climb, anti-cut, so really safety measures and security for the facility.
Kendall, did you say there is a fence there now? We're replacing it?
This is a new fence.
We didn't have a fence up at all?
Well, I think there was a fence up before, but this is one that in the February board meeting, there was a approval for clearing and tree removal in this area to add this fence for the Platte West
But
facility.
my point is, we didn't have a fence securing that property at all at present?
To my understanding, we did. Yes.
It's an internal fence ramp.
What's that?
Andy Melville, Interim Vice President of Water Operations. We do have an internal fence around the plant proper. This fence, if you remember from the previous authorizations, is the boundary between the facility and then the growing neighborhoods behind it. So it's a separation. We have a large area with some different ponds in between the plant, which has its own fencing and security systems.
Okay, that makes sense. So we did have a fence securing the facility itself.
Correct, yeah. This is in addition, to separate public from the plant ground.
Okay, thank you for
Yep.
that clarification.
Thank you, Andy.
Kids.
Yeah. All right. Next slide, please. So the next item, item 3, we want to, for arc flash risk assessment for the LNG facility, with all of the larger equipment and things that we're adding to the facility, it's really important for all of our staff and employees to be trained on arc flash. A lot larger equipment is requiring a lot larger electrical equipment. This demonstrates, the limiting approach boundary for the electrical equipment in that area. This training, this assessment will also allow our staff and our teams to understand what's the appropriate PPE that they need to be wearing in case of an arc flash event, but also just from a safety perspective, and also, if reducing the energy output from any incident that could potentially happen on the site for the LNG project moving forward. And this assessment is looking to, take about 8 to 10 weeks for implementation if approved. Next slide. For system improvements, here's one of replacing the underground gas regulation station to above ground regulation station. The overall task in looking at this is on the picture to your left is showing a regulation station that's really worn, really just ate up with the chloromag that the city puts down during snow events. It really corrodes the metal of the equipment, so on and so forth. So this is an underground reg station to your left. The above ground reg station on your right shows newer station, secured by bollards, so on and so forth. And really, this is to alleviate degradation of the underground piping, as well as confined space entry and preventative maintenance for the reg stations moving forward.
Kendall, how many underground stations do we currently have in the field?
I'm not really sure. 166. 166.
Okay, because I think we had one in Bellevue in the last year or so that, do those get inspected every year to make sure that they aren't corroding, and if we have to put it above ground that we can do that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Kendall, a little bit of context and history on these. I'm not opposed to going from underground regulator station to above ground, but as I will echo what I've said several times over the last 15 years, always makes me nervous when these are above ground because that makes them easier to tamper with. And I will again ask if our SCADA or other systems would let our operators or the appropriate people know if there was incidental, intentional, accidental damage to one of these regulator stations that caused a release that wasn't part of the system. Does the system recognize that? And do we have the ability through SCADA or something else to shut that off should we need at that regulator station as opposed to losing gas?
Yes, absolutely.
So the system does,
And I can have Jim Knight come up and speak to this more. Yeah.
I don't know that you need to. I mean, I think I'm echoing again. It always makes me nervous because if somebody would hit that with the vehicle, or worse, if somebody were intent on creating damage, it's a great place to start as long as there's something we can do to shut it off. Maybe, Jim, if you could just for a couple of minutes, Jim.
And while Jim walks up, Mark Doyle, President. Yes, Director Friend, we both know these have a lot of history at the board level for not just safety concerns or the other concerns you mentioned, but also for aesthetics. This is counterintuitive, myself included, that we're taking these underground facilities and moving them up with more visibility. Agree? I mean, it is counterintuitive. There's a lot of reasons, and I've been convinced over the years, not that I don't have a, this isn't up to me how these are done. This is standard now, and for our employee safety, I mean, I don't know, that's probably number one. It's pretty difficult working on these below ground with what you're working on and all that. But Director Friend, I understand. I'm with you on this.
No, I understand the reason for raising them above. I just want to make sure the safeguards are there. So if somebody tries to damage one of them on purpose or accidentally, we know in a reasonably quick amount of time and can shut that off, divert it, take some emergency response measures. Mr. Knight.
Jim Knight, Vice President of Gas Operations. Yes, we are monitoring via SCADA roughly 200 of these regulator stations. So if there is any tampering that would impact pressure on the system, our systems controllers would know within minutes, and then we would dispatch someone to the site.
Can they be shut off remotely, or does it have to be manually at the site?
It has to be manually at the site.
I'm not sure there's an answer to that, but that reminds me of what happened, or what we talked about 10 years ago, and that makes me nervous. I don't know that there's an answer, but it makes me nervous.
What did we talk about 10 years ago?
These above-ground regulator stations and not being able to shut them off remotely, having to send someone out there to shut them off.
Keep in mind, each regulator station has overpressure protection. So there's 2 regulators. Okay, there are multiple other regulators that feed each system. Every house has a regulator behind this that can handle that higher pressure if it were to see that higher pressure. So there's almost 3 lines of defense. There is 3 lines of defense on all of our high pressure systems.
Okay. No, I don't doubt what you're saying. I just. Maybe it's the uneducated part of me that this makes me nervous, but I understand the standard, and that's why we do it.
Jim, are those barriers there for protect from autos or something like that? Is that what those pillars are?
Yes, absolutely.
They can stop a car?
I believe so, yes.
Are you for imprint certain?
But what you're asking is not just tampering, it's accidents too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. I didn't mean to drag you through a rehash of 10 years ago, but
No problem, no problem. Thank you.
Well, we put it up there for this reason though, Dave, so we can have this discussion and not, because it has been something that we've talked about quite a bit.
Well, and this was a big discussion that we had, again, about 10 or 12 years ago, and I went overboard, I know that, on the one that we put in at Fontenelle and Curtis. And it was in the right-of-way, but it was literally 10 feet off the front porch of the person's house. And they didn't realize that the right-of-way back of curb went back 60 feet. So they walk off their front porch, and one of those is in their front yard. And so it's also that people see that, and it makes them nervous. And so that's why I don't have an answer. I appreciate your listening, but that's my concern.
Absolutely. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Jim. Jay, next slide, please. Item 2, the last item that I wanted to discuss on the CapEx letter today is the condition assessment of the 1.46 miles of 12-inch main to be evaluated related to the cast iron and ductile iron piping, as well as to ensure that we're identifying the most troubled segments of pipe. It really will allow us to have more planning and rehabilitation and replacement of the entire pipeline if that's needed, or segments of the pipe as needed. This also will reduce the risk of water main breaks in our high-risk areas. So target scheduled date for this will be May 2024, this month, if approved by the board. So, and with that, do you guys have any questions? Additional
Thanks,
questions? Yep, thank you.
Interim Director of Plant Engineering, Adam Gartner, will present change order number 1, Operations Center Remodel, MCL Construction Company. Morning, Adam.
Good morning. Apologize for the last minute change, but I would like to ask Director Velaratsky to come up and present that change order with MCL Construction.
Good morning. John Velaratsky, Director of Facilities Management. This morning, I will be discussing change order number 1 for MCL Construction to remodel the Operations Center that can be found under tab 7. In May 2023, the board approved just under $800,000 for renovation and reconfiguration improvements to the Operations Center. MCL Construction's portion of the project included remodeling work for security improvements to the main lobby and the first floor lobby entrances, as well as construction of the new training room. Additional work that was also completed independent of MCL Construction's portion of the project included security improvements to stairwells, installation of audio-visual equipment for the new training room, ordering new chairs and tables for the new training room, and replacing employee chairs in the facility that no longer met district furniture standards, relocating and reassembling cubicle workstations, and lastly, painting conference rooms, hallways, and stairwells. Overall cost for the project, including the change order and final payment pending for MCL Construction, were completed within budgeted project funds. Total project costs upon approval of the change order and final payment for MCL Construction will be approximately $18,000 under the total approved project costs. This is due in large part to efficient use of project funds and multiple resources to maximize the amount of work that could be completed within budget. Facilities Management is requesting approval of the change order for MCL Construction, amount of $49,585 to increase the contract cost to $342,860. The additional work items in this change order were due to additional requirements by the City of Omaha during the permitting and final inspection processes, additional scope requests during construction, and additional items requiring modification for repairs during construction. I will present a summary of these items for clarification. The new training room provides a large space for meetings and training sessions with a maximum occupancy of 125 people. Previously, this area was used by engineering for approximately only 40 employees. During the permit review process, the City of Omaha required additional fire protection measures due to the increased room capacity and potential fire events. Although the design team made best efforts to utilize existing corridors and exits for emergencies, the city determined that extra measures were required. These measures included additional fire detection devices in the new training room and modification of the lunchroom doorway to a double fire door to allow for an improved exit path for the training room. Final project inspection by the city also required the installation of an additional exit sign in the main lobby. These changes represent 50% of the total change order cost. After the project was bid, Human Resources requested push-button AD door operators for the new lobby doors and new training room. These modifications are in line with efforts to improve ADA access at district facilities, and similar provisions will be incorporated into the Construction Center 1 and 2 projects. MCL's portion of this work included installing the infrastructure for the door operators, representing 20% of the change order cost. The remaining change order items consist of project scope changes, including a request by security to modify door window glass for added protection in the 2 lobby entrances and sensitive areas within the facility, additional work in the new training room to repair a water-damaged wall, install a ceiling outlet, and upgrade electrical floor outlet boxes, and replace a vinyl wall base that could not be reused. Installation of a 3-way light switch in the former builders and contractors area was also required due to room separation with a new wall. And lastly, a portion of the concrete floor grinding work was completed after hours due to high noise levels and critical operational areas within the facility. As previously stated, all work was completed within budgeted project funds, and your approval of change order number 1 is requested. This change order is also included in the final payment to be approved for MCL construction. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Maybe I'm missing something here, but it just bothers me that we have an estimate and we have a change order for things that seem to me to be pretty obvious, like fire protection, ADA compliance, and some of these other items. How come they weren't included in the original estimate and discussed fully so they could be included and avoid a change order?
So during the design process, the designers do their best job to interpret building code and fire code, and then it's up to the city to make that final determination. And it's our understanding that the city's current practices are not necessarily providing that service prior to these jobs going out for bid. We've had a little more success with that with the CC1 and CC2 projects as we're working through the design process for that. But I do believe that the designers made their best effort to interpret that code. At one point, the city was actually going to require us to put fire sprinkling on the entire first floor of the building, which would have been extremely costly, and it comes down to the interpretation of the code and their view. And we were able to successfully negotiate that down to just these smaller improvements to put the extra fire protection devices and put the double doorway in.
Don't we get, with all the projects, don't we get experience in knowing what the city's going to ask us to do and kind of estimate this? You know, we might need this one here, we got fire protection. Okay, next time we have a project, we know the city might come in and ask for that. And ADA, it just seems like some of these are so obvious that they should have been included in the original estimate.
I will add to answer your question. As far as the ADA, that was really something that's been a procedural change with the district after this project was bid that we're trying to do to make improvements going forward, starting with this project and then going forward with projects we're doing in the future. As far as the other portion with the code review, when you do these remodeling projects, they're tough. You really have to make a lot of interpretation about what areas you're affecting of the building. When we put the design together, it made sense to the design team, and it made sense to us that there's plenty of corridor access and exit stairwells within that facility to be able to channel the people exiting from that room to get out safely. Well, when it got down to the code review with the city, the building permit review said it was okay, but then the fire inspection review did not agree with that interpretation. And I would say we're not alone in this process. I know that other entities go through this same issue when they're trying to do this work as well.
Okay, I understand that better now, but ADA access and compliance, that ought to be a top consideration in any project, not an afterthought.
Absolutely, and I do believe that these push buttons that we're putting in, we've learned through experience with the CC1 and CC2 projects, this is an addition to ADA requirements. It's another amenity that we'd like to have for employees to help with that process to gain entry and exit from our facilities.
I have a question. Did you say a new room was leaking?
The wall of the new training room was actually hidden behind existing cubicles.
Okay.
It has windows along that wall. It's the south wall of the facility. And when we pulled those cubicles out, we discovered that there was water damage on that wall.
Okay. So it's not like a climate change weather making it you just had something that was...
No, I believe that
sealing
it had an issue to do with the windows and the wall needing to be sealed, and we're actually have a project getting ready to go to help prevent that over in that area in the future here too.
Thanks, just curious.
Mark Doyle, President. John, what's the vintage of this building?
60 years. It was
60
completed
years.
roughly early 1960s.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say that doing a project like this is fundamentally different than anything else, and I think our construction center, same thing. These buildings have been so neglected that we're willing to go through this. It's easier not to do it because these do seem obvious. These facilities, we're just so glad you're supporting us. We tore apart the lunchroom and redid it, and the kind of things you find in here that we're lucky they're still standing. I'll leave it at that, and not burnt down. Yeah, I'm not speaking for John or the team. I'm speaking for myself, witnessing some of the things that we discover in a building like this where we just haven't taken care of our facilities. So, fair?
Fair.
Yeah, we've saved a lot of money by not taking care of our facilities. That's a little sarcasm, but right, Mike, it's something else. So,
Mark, when you open a wall, it's like opening the ground. You don't know what's hidden until you do it.
Yep. So we're just really pleased that you're supporting us on these upgrades because they are sorely overdue. We should have upgraded them a couple times by now. So that's my defense, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Adam, acceptance of contracts and payments and final estimates.
Good morning, Adam Gardner, Interim Director of Plant Engineering, presenting the finals letter on tab 8. It is a short letter this month, just 2 projects. First is item A. This is for the contracted installation of the new underground pump station at Cornhusker and Fort Cook Road in Bellevue. I do have some photos to share this morning if you can bring up the quick presentation for the Cornhusker pump station. All right, so this first photo shows both the existing station and the replacement station during installation. The district procured a new packaged pump station in 2022 and completed the contracted installation in 2023. In this photo here, you can see the existing structure is kind of located in the bottom right, just south behind the curb on Cornhusker Road. And then the replacement station is there just to the east or to the left of the photo. Existing station was constructed in about 1971 and again was located immediately behind the curb. So unfortunately road spray, salt, and water had significantly deteriorated the concrete and steel structure of the pump station such that replacement was required. The replacement station was set further back of curb. It does allow a much safer means of entrance and exit to the underground pump station. The new station has since been placed into service. It does serve Zone 2 in Bellevue. The project did go very well given the tight corridor and right-of-way and also the power poles and other various utilities in right-of-way. This photo here does show inside the previous pump station and also the entrance to the underground station there, located again just behind the curb there. Jay, if you want to go to the next slide. So these photos here do show the inside the new underground pump station and the delivery of the large package pump station. I was also planning to note that package solutions like this, we're going to continue to use solutions like this for select applications in future projects with the district. Any questions regarding the Cornhusker? Last item on the finals letter is the Operations Center remodel with MCL Construction that Director John Belaratsky had presented in the previous agenda item. I would just make a note that approval of the final is contingent upon approval of the change order in the previous agenda item.
Thank you, Adam. Vice President of Procurement and Enterprise Services, John Zellers, will now review the bids on materials and contracts unless somebody comes up and pinch hits for John, like we've had 2 pinch hitters today.
I'll take this one. All right, good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 9.
There are a few items I plan to discuss this morning, and the first two may be found in the middle of page 2. We are asking for 2 contract ratifications that were executed with the low bidder, excuse me, of each to expedite the start of the respective projects. The first is for the replacement of an uninterruptible power supply unit, or UPS, for the data center at Platte West. The existing unit is existing, or it was, what am I trying to say? It is existing to the Platte West back in 2008. It has recently experienced numerous issues due to internal component failures. The second is for the purchase of 5,000 feet of 6-inch high-density polyethylene gas pipe for a new gas main extension for M.U.D asphalt plant at 65th and Grover, which Mr. Nia will speak to during his discussion on main extensions. The remaining items may be found on page 3. I want to highlight the first item at the top of the page. We accepted bids for our first lead water service replacement project, which will replace approximately 50 services. This is the first of many projects as we embark on replacing all the lead water services in the distribution system. As part of this effort, we wanted to further engage the plumbing community so that we had ample resources available and able to achieve the objectives, which is anticipated to take approximately 10 years. We issued a request for qualifications, after which respondent submittals were reviewed, interviews were conducted, and those that met qualifications and criteria were invited to bid the project. Participation in the bid was high, and the low bidder, Plumright, is recommended for approval. Plumright has successfully performed water service replacements for the district as a subcontractor within the Water IR program, and specifically has experience in replacing lead services. In addition, references provided positive feedback. Later this morning, Mr. Doyle will speak more on this topic during his State of the District. The next item is a recommendation to extend the contract with Downey Drilling for the development of 6 wells at Platte West. Redeveloping wells is an annual project to ensure the reliability and pumping productivity levels of each well. At Platte West, wells are on a 7-year rotation, resulting in 6 wells redeveloped each year. Downey Drilling was a successful bidder in 2021 to redevelop a total of 12 wells during 2022 and 2023. They have agreed to extend the contract, holding both terms and pricing. The last item I'd like to speak to is for the purchase of 1 McElroy fusion machine for construction. We received 2 bids that the pricing is identical. We are recommending the bid from ISCO as their lead time is 6 weeks, whereas Grubner's lead time is 14 weeks. Construction plans to immediately use these machines for both plastic, gas, and water main installations. And that's all I plan to discuss, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you.
Vice President of Engineering, Masa Nia, will now review the proposed main extension. Good morning, Masa.
Good morning. Masa Nia, Vice President of Engineering. Behind tab 10 is the main extensions letter. This month we have 3 water main extensions and 6 gas main extensions. The impact of the 3 water main extensions include water service and fire protection for 206 residential lots, as well as 7 outlots. These are located in District Subdivisions 1 and 4. There are also 6 gas main extensions, making gas service available for 600 residential lots and 1 industrial lot. Most of these are fairly standard new developments for gas and water. For gas, on projects listed as numbers 8 and 9, there's some district dollars involved in oversizing gas mains to more efficiently serve future growth. I would like to highlight one of the gas projects, GP 2856, which is listed as number 6, I believe, on page 2, as this one's a bit unique. This project involves, and we've got a map shown here showing the project, a 6-inch high-density polyethylene gas main being installed from 68th and Mercy Road on the north end, all the way south to about 67th and Shirley Street. This is for the M.U.D asphalt gas plant outlined there in yellow at 6506 Grover Street. The main is needed to supply an increased gas load for the asphalt plant as they're going through some major renovations to increase production capacity, which in turn needs significantly more gas. It's about a 3-fold increase. The The increase is equivalent to about 500 residential homes using their gas services, so pretty significant at that one location. The original gas service was installed in 1961 and comes off of Grover Street to the south. And the main in the service, which operates at a lower pressure than the larger main in Mercy Road, doesn't have the capacity to serve this customer's increased load. This gas main extension is funded through our gas revenue policy. And lastly, there's an estimated $2,000 in district costs associated with capping the existing service off just about a block north of Grover and converting that a portion of that to a main for benefit to nearby customers. And last thing I guess I'd point out is with this added infrastructure put in place that's funded through the gas revenues, it'll be in place for future improvements as gas demand changes and as we go through Gas IR 2.0. We'd be able to improve resiliency for the customers in that area. And with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Masa.
All right, thank you.
Vice President of Human Resources, Bonnie Savine, will now review employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning. Bonnie Savine, Vice President, Human Resources. I will do a short recap of employee counts for the end of April. 2023, April 30th, we had 877 regular full-time employees. We had 4 regular part-time employees for a total of 881. To end April of 2024, we had 889 regular full-time and 5 regular part-time for a total of 894. We also had 11 interns at the end of April. And we do have several jobs in various stages of the job placement process. We have 6 jobs with a requisition going through a job description review or approval process. We have 10 jobs that are currently posted. 8 of those are external only. You will see those on the monitors that Mr. Roberts is displaying. There is 1 job that is internal and external, and we have 1 that is open internally only at this time. So those are the 10 total. We have 12 jobs that are in the application review or interview stages, and we have 6 jobs with 7 selected candidates that are going through onboarding steps at this time. One other note, our 21 summer positions are selected and placed. The first and largest group of summer hires will start May 13th, so just about 12 days from now. So they'll be out and about in the district. Behind tab 11, you will find the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 18 employees this month. In the first section, you will see 10 OAC employees that are recommended for wage increases due to promotion. And in the next to last section, you will see 7 employee names. We have 7 promotions into SPA positions. 5 of those are currently SPA employees, and 2 are OAC employees that are being promoted into those SPA positions. And that is all I have today. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Government Relations Attorney Rick Kubat will present the final legislative report for 2024. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. The final report should be on tab 12. The opening paragraph speaks to the fact that the legislature adjourned on April 18th of this year. In his closing remarks to the legislature, Governor Pillen indicated his intention to call a special session specifically to address property tax. There was a property tax relief measure in the waning days of the legislature, but that bill was unable to advance. In terms of the report, I'm going to skip to page 12. I know we briefly discussed it last time, but LB 1245 was the bill introduced by Senator McDonnell appropriating to the district $8 million in the lead service line cash fund. And essentially what that bill did was it broadened the authority in which the district can spend funds for purposes of lead service line removals. I know it previously mentioned, in addition to that bill, thanks to the work of U.S. Senator Fisher, the district was recently awarded a $4 million federal appropriation for lead service line replacements. We are to be hearing from Region 7, EPA Region 7 here out of Kansas City pretty soon about the parameters regarding that allocation. Moving on page 3 is LB 1300. That's the Pacific Conflict Stress Test Act. That bill was substantively modified as it moved through the process. For purposes of district interest, it has a couple of items. It created a committee on Pacific conflict to prepare a risk assessment. That committee can ask entities such as the district for some of our procurement list and items. One of the areas of concern with the district was that, and others similarly situated, was a concern of providing those lists being subject to open meetings and public records requests. That bill provides an exemption that those types of security sensitive documents will not be subject to public records and open meetings requirements. In addition, that bill also had one other item of interest to the district, and that is it created the Foreign Adversary Contracting Prohibition Act. And essentially what that does is it would require the district, when we put items out for bid, it requires future bidders to certify that they are not scrutinized companies. The next question would be, what's a scrutinized company? A scrutinized company is one that is deemed to be a foreign adversary under the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations. There are 6 countries on that list, and so prospective bidders have to certify they're not owned in whole or in part, are organized under the control of a foreign adversary. LB 1300 ended up being the vehicle that the next bill that I'm going to speak to was attached to, and that is LB 1358, the bill that provides permissive authority for this board to provide itself a cost of living adjustment plus 1% from the last time that compensation for board directors was had, which was back in January of 2007. Essentially, what that means is that the board could, for directors, provide compensation up to roughly $20,612, and for the board chair, $23,189. I spoke to this bill earlier. It also provides specifically for M.U.D. the ability that once every 2 years, the board has, again, permissive authority to do cost of living adjustments plus 1%. The final bill that I'm going to speak to is the very last one on page 4, and that was LB 636, just to update the board because it was still, I believe it was on final reading at that time. That was the bill that prohibits municipalities from enacting ordinances limiting fuel choice. That bill was amended into LB 867 and signed into law by the governor. It did not have the emergency clause, meaning that it becomes effective law 90 days from April 18th, which is July 18th-ish. And the good news is, I believe it won't be till February that the board's going to have to hear from me. So that should make everybody happy.
Rick, I think you did a great job down in Lincoln for us, and good reporting, keeping us updated on the status of the bills. And good job getting the right ones passed and everything else. We think you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. Senior Vice President and General Counsel Mark Mendenhall will now present the Nebraska Medicine Claim Settlement. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Chair Bagley and members of the board. Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. I'll be presenting the next two tabs behind tab 14, I believe it is. No, I'm sorry, tab 13. We have a recommendation to settle a claim that is outstanding on August 7th, 2023. The district experienced a water main break that allowed water to inundate a basement of a building at 4239 Farnham Street. I've always called that building Doctor's Building South. If you can picture it, it's on the south side of Farnham Street. It's an 8-story, approximately 40,000 square foot building that houses medical offices owned by Nebraska Medical Center. Just briefly, what I'll say is when breaks occur that damage property, we have a team of individuals that will respond, and I'd like to point out we've got a senior claims investigator, Mike Conrad, who I think you all know, and then a claims adjuster, Tyson Robards, both of whom are well experienced in handling these types of property damage incidents. On the date that this occurred, Ms. Robards handled the matter, and she continued to work closely with the representatives of Nebraska Medicine. So typically what happens would be the district would engage a property restoration company to begin efforts to restore. Restoration could be carpentry, drywall, paint, new landscaping. Unfortunately for this particular event, the damage is primarily electrical and mechanical, which you all know electrical especially is costly. This matter was a little bit different. We did not hire a property restoration company for this event. Nebraska Medicine representatives determined it best to handle internally with their insurance carrier. And so they hired their own general contractor who hired subcontractors, and then over the next 4 months, so from August through December, completed repairs. Total amount, $647,654.70. Was the total cost of repairs, and I would say over $430,000 of that were electrical subcontractor costs, so costs for equipment and the labor costs associated with that. This amount will be paid out to both Farmers Mutual and Nebraska Medicine, as Nebraska Medicine paid out a deductible under their property insurance claim. This will bring the claim to a close. And unfortunately highlights that while the district experiences a number of water main breaks each year, I would say the majority of those, thankfully, will put water into a sewer running down a street fairly harmlessly. Maybe we've got some pavement damage, but occasionally it does get into a property, a residence, a building, and that's what happened here. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Seeing none, I will move on. Let me also just mention, such a significant event as you can imagine. I mean, I didn't have one, but you may have had, and I'm sure there were people out there with doctor's appointments that day that were all canceled. I believe, and Mark, you can speak to this if you'd like, but Mr. Doyle was in direct contact with Dr. Gold on the date of or shortly thereafter of the incident. The district maintained, I would describe as positive communications with the medical center, and continue to work with their staff over the next few months, as this is certainly disruptive to their business. But I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, we also did extra work after the fact, and that was some of the 42nd Street closings that I've talked to several directors about, to make sure that those mains that we are looking ahead and going farther than just that break. So, but the staff of UNMC was wonderful to work with. This is not fun. They understand aging infrastructure. They're dealing with it as well. They have a lot more. They're not going to stop. There's more to do down in that corridor in Saddle Creek, and we're in constant contact. And yeah, they're good partners, good customers, very understanding, but it's difficult. This highlights the consequence of failure, not just the likelihood of failure. Will it break? But the consequence is big. So it's part of the reason why we've amplified, and we keep talking about your support on our water infrastructure is so critically important to getting us where we need to be, and it's going to go on for a long time. But believe it or not, we're making major progress. It's just when you have an incident like this, it reminds you that why we're doing what we're doing and investing our customers' money in this manner.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Turning your attention now to tab 14. A little bit better topic than tab 13. As you all know, the district staff undergoes periodic reviews of both gas and water rules to bring recommendations to you all for appropriate changes. Tab 14 shows several recommendations just for water rules, so we'll have to engage in effort and bring something back to you all here before too long regarding the gas rules. But this is just an effort for the water rules. This effort took place over the last, I'd say, at least 6 months. Participation included from a number of departments, including water distribution, engineering, construction, myself in the law department, also customer accounting. There are several proposed changes. You'll find them in red underline or strike throughs. High level, I would describe them, the changes addressing, I guess, different efforts. One, to better clarify debt collection efforts from the district, both of consumption debt and then other related debt. There are inconsistencies that were also clarified, and then finally changes more along Part 10 with water main extensions, but changes to better align with existing practices for either connection charges or water main extension agreements with developers. Yes, sir.
Mark, is this the final draft? Will this require board action today?
Yes, sir. This would be board action recommended today, a vote to approve, and then these would be incorporated into the existing water rules.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir. Seeing none, thank you very much.
President Mark Doyle will present the state of the district. Mr. Doyle.
Well, I'm not going to hand this off to anyone, so. But I am going to hand a little bit of it off, so I wanted to prepare you for that. Before I step to the podium, Mark Doyle, President. Before I step to the podium, if you have the presentation we've given you in your notebooks, if you could turn to page 2, slide 2, titled Emergency Response and Recovery. It's just a few pictures that really does not tell the story of Friday and everything that's happening to our fellow citizens that were affected since then. I did think that nothing underscores the state of the district or what we do, why we do it, how well we do it, like our ability to respond at a moment's notice to things that are just entirely unexpected. Of course, we know a tornado can hit, but you really don't know what you're going to see and do until you roll in as an emergency responder, which our employees are, first responders, and see what they saw. So I'd like to ask Interim Vice President of Water, Andy Melville, to step up and maybe just share a few highlights and a Q&A if you're interested in our reaction to the storm as M.U.D.
Good morning, Andy Melville, Interim Vice President of Water Operations. And yeah, just several months ago, we were talking about our reaction and our employees stepping up to the polar vortex. And it's Nebraska, so you wait a month and now you're dealing with tornadoes and other devastating weather. But really, I'd like to recognize our frontline district employees that responded last Friday night. They handled gas and water emergencies immediately and during those destructive storms. Every operating division had boots on the ground in the Elkhorn-Bennington area, isolating gas and water, making the scene what we called safe. Happy to report during that event we had no injuries or accidents. which, as you've seen all the footages, that could be very easy to happen. As well, during that time, we had agency representatives from our safety, security, and claims divisions embedded with OFD at their command post in Elkhorn. They're providing situational awareness, coordinating the activities with with that field response with our technicians and other employees in the field. Meanwhile, at the same time, many other employees at water plants, systems control, LNG plant were securing those facilities and dealing with the numerous power outages and blips that occurred to maintain treatment and distribution of gas and water during that event, which was uninterrupted. During that time as well, we stood up a management coordination call, and this group basically of all levels of management were interacting and providing real-time updates, making decisions. At the same time, our business continuity group headed by Tara Morrow and Shane Hunter were interacting with multiple agencies: Douglas County Emergency Management Agency, OFD, OPD, City of Omaha Public Works, Omaha Rapid Response, Waterloo Valley, Bennington Incident Command, OPPD, numerous different agencies we have been involved with, offering our support, our resources, wherever we can help out. At the height of the event, we had over 300 gas and water customers isolated due to the different damages throughout the service territory there in the west and northwest. Currently, we have approximately 50 customers that are shut off but can be turned back on. This is on the gas side. With that, when they call in, our technicians will go out and we're going to check basically every inch of their gas system to ensure its integrity before we do turn them back on. Now, that's 50 of them that can't come back on. There's about 120 that the destruction of the structure is just so much that we do not believe they're going to come back on. They're isolated, and we would require disconnection at our mains before demolition. The rest could happen. Just our normal processes where we're going to protect our infrastructure before anything more occurs. That's on the gas side. On the water side, all houses that in these areas that could be occupied have water turned back on to them at this point. As efforts continue with the debris removal, we're working in hand with Public Works and some other entities and permits to make sure that all the processes are followed so that we can restore service to them when they're ready. And I guess with that, I'd be happy to take any questions on these efforts by our employees.
We're not charging these folks to have this turned back on, the services turned back on, are we?
Correct. We're, Stephanie Miller and myself, there's quite a group working through that and making sure we're respective of those individuals as they're impacted and tallying the list of those that their services are off. And we're working through. I don't think we have a final decision yet on what's going to be waived or brought out, but we're definitely looking to support these customers.
Good. I would certainly hope and appreciate that we're not charging people in a disaster.
Correct. Yep. We're working through that to make sure we're supporting supplier.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's on now. Good morning. Thank you, Andy. Very much appreciated. Mark Doyle, President. Hats off to everyone, the entire company, not just for this particular event, but it's an example of other events. Andy mentions the polar vortex. Unfortunately, we could go on and list the things that we face and other entities face as well. Very proud of the company and district support, and Director Howard will do what we should be doing. If you hear anything different, or every one of you, I promise you, let us know. This is one of those where the more information we have, the better, but I promise you we'll do what the board expects us to do in this regard. If we did that, it wouldn't be on purpose. So one thing right out of the gate, I'd like to say is we've changed a lot of things over the past several years, and one of them is our safety posture. We received a note from a director that said some employees felt that our alerting on district devices was so effective Friday. You know, if you put yourself in a spot where you're working and you're going about your life, not everybody hears everything. You really could be unaware of the significance of what's going on if you're not in front of a TV or wherever it is that you get your information. There were times when we've been, you know, a little tongue-in-cheek, we've been criticized for the amount of alerting we do out of our emergency response areas. But the comment that we received back was our employees did not hear the sirens, but received the warnings on our district-issued devices, and they strongly feel that it saved their lives. So thank you for the things that we do, and never take it for granted. Most of the time it's not needed, but in this case it was very, very effective. So I'm going to work through this as rapidly as I can and maybe underline a few points that deserve a little more comment. But by board resolution, we do this every year. Chair Begley, we've talked about this a lot. I will always ask that you think about this and let us know and future generations of management know what you would like to hear in terms of the state of the district. We talk mostly externally during this presentation. Internally, we have things like attrition, retirements, recruitment, retention. We don't spend as much time on the internal items because this is for our public audience, but there are those things that we pay great attention to as well because they're directly related to how the district operates going forward. So if you could turn, I want to thank the communications group right off the bat for always providing me with the first draft that is almost the final draft, which tells me whether you read our annual report or you come up with the state of the district that we're all on the same page with this information, and hopefully the board feels like none of this is a surprise as well. So slide 3. We have upped our commitment to the community, and I'm not going to read the bullet points, but suffice it to say that our community engagement and the impact we have on the community by our, you know, I could use the word philanthropic, by our engagement with the community and our volunteerism and all those things is second to none. Slide 4. The other 4, thank you. I'm not going to read these. We have a very clear mission, and our vision and core values remain the same. Slide 5, fiscal responsibility. We are still in very good shape in spite of the fact that we are incurring debt over the last decade that we haven't incurred to take care of our business. And I think we have a nice mix of current customers, future customers in terms of our pay-as-you-go versus our debt position.
Mark? Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
just quick question. Our debt ratings are AA+ and AA2. What's, for each one of those, what's the highest we can achieve?
I'm going to say AAA, but I'm not sure I'm right. I'm going to have to phone a friend here.
Yeah, I can say that Fitch ratings, we're at the second highest, and on Moody's, we're at the third highest of our rating scales.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Affordability index. Interesting that we're moving up the ladder on the gas side, and this is always taken from the national Bible, so to speak, in terms of affordability. Memphis Gas and Light and Water has done this survey for many, many, many years, and it's 40 of the top U.S. utilities in the nation. Water, we're maybe about the same. We've dropped a few slots, but what this survey doesn't say is how many of the utilities that are surveyed are as far along as we are on funding infrastructure investment, for example. The water IR budget that we have and the gas IR budget are very, very significant and have rate impacts. So My opinion is, my prediction is, even if we do nothing different, which we will, we'll always try to get better, we're going to move up the notch, especially on the water side, as other utilities move full speed into infrastructure replacement. So this is a good picture, but it's not the whole picture. This is another slide for supporting our community. Thank you for Director Begley for chairing again this year for the Walk for Warmth. And it's obviously a successful event. To all our employees that are involved and all the directors that participate, thank you very much. It's, no pun intended, it's heartwarming as well as body warming. This is really a great event, and only to get better. Customers in need, we always like to talk about the Home Fund, formerly the Heat Aid Fund, for those that remember that. Another success story every year. Every year it's as good or if not better, and it goes directly to our customers. Another slide on our service to the community. Don't need to read those to you, but suffice it to say we're very involved in many community events. And it's not just an expectation, it's a commitment to the community. I think you'll see a couple pictures of those events to follow.
Yeah, I have a phone a friend question, Mark.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. But occasionally through the website and in person, people want to ask M.U.D for support, whether that's a check or donations for their organization or for their event. And when I get those, I wonder what the process is to, is there a form? Is there is there a rubric of who gets and how much, just so I can be a little bit more familiar with that? That could be a follow-up thingy, a follow-up email, or something that I can keep in my computer so I can send it to people when they ask me, though.
Great question, Director Cook. We will follow up on that. I would say that, yeah, that deserves some discussion. And we'd be happy to make sure that you, not just you, that everyone knows the process, whether they're just looking at the website so they don't have to go through a board member. But we do get a lot of requests, and they come from many directions. And I know Vice President of Customer Care, Stephanie Mueller, is listening as we speak. I'm pretty sure about that. Am I right? Okay. Thank you for that question.
I don't see the water truck mentioned on here, which I think is a great.
Well, it should be mentioned because it's highly utilized.
It really should be
Yes.
mentioned. I think it's especially on a hot day.
Yep.
I think it's really a great M.U.D. opportunity for people to have water. Oh, my
Friend is advising me here. It's a really good community resource, and I know you're always so willing to have it out where it could be beneficial. It goes to the Memorial Park music concert in June, and I know you'd considered having it go out to the, as needed, out to the Elkhorn and the area that was hit. So I just really appreciate the water truck. I think it's terrific.
I think that's a great comment. It's almost feeling like maybe we take it for granted. It used to be such an effort to get the old truck out, and it's still a little bit of an effort. You don't just fill it. It's safe water that's put into a vehicle to utilize. But yes, we probably, maybe we take it for granted. We're able to react quickly with it now, and it's not just water, it's a symbol of what we do. It has been offered to the areas impacted by the storm, and we're ready to go when they need it. At this time, they said we don't need that yet, so. But
they
great
probably
comments.
will as time goes on. Do we provide plastic cups or some sort of cups for them too?
And possible bottles. Yeah, when I did send the note to make sure if we use it to be sure and send cups, I gave you credit for that internally.
I'll have to come up with the cups now.
It's a good point. Yeah. We don't think of everything. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We do a customer satisfaction survey, and the results were very good. If you would like to know more about that at any time, please let us know, but we're continuously trying to improve through our customer experience training, all of the interactions and all of the touch points that we have with customers, and we are always measuring our performance, not just against ourselves, but also industry metrics. Safety's always top, always at the top of mind. I can't stress that enough, but congratulations to the entire company, because this is a team effort, and to the board for your support, where we can see that the gas emergency response time since 2017 has been improved considerably. The untrained eye might not think that's a lot. It is significant. And I know averages only say a few things. We're able, during the workday, we have employees everywhere, and we're able to respond quickly. Outside of hours, that's when I won't say it's a challenge, but most people would say that it doesn't take us that long to get there. But this has been a team effort, and it'll never stop. Next slide, Jay. This is no surprise to you. We've replaced 450 miles of cast iron low-pressure gas mains, 50,000 gas services from 2008 to 2023. This has been a stellar effort. Next slide, please. That's the map that shows before and after. Next. And this was last Friday when we were awarded the second Natural Gas Distribution Infrastructure Safety and Modernization Grant from PHMSA. I would say the acronym, but I might not get it right, but the Pipeline Hazardous Materials and Safety Administration. Close. Year one, we received $10 million. Year two, we received $25.2 million, and we are considering applying again. What a great effort by the internal team. These aren't easy. They take a lot of work, and you have to be ready to go. I'll use the term shovel ready. Not everybody can apply and pull it off. We have, and I would just say thanks for your support on this too. This goes directly to our customers' gas infrastructure that you are also contributing their money towards. So thanks to everyone for that.
Mark, that award that we got is a great deal. And unfortunately, even though we had a lot of press at the presentation, it was all drowned out by the weather, and understandably. Mm-hmm. And the World Herald did have an article in the paper, but I just wonder how many of our customers realize we got this check, because the coverage was drowned out by the weather incident and everything. Can we do like a public announcement on TV or something, take out some time, or don't they have public free time that you can take out and let the public know we got $25 million to help them and save them money? I don't know that many people know we got it.
There's no statute of limitations on this, and yeah, unfortunately, we were overshadowed for sure. We're gonna do more with this as things, maybe the dust settles and people are looking for news. There's plenty of things we can do.
And I'm sure we can do some inserts in the bill and everything, but I'm not sure everybody reads all that. I was just thinking, public service announcements on TV, do we have access to those or not?
Yeah, we do. We'll explore every avenue, and we are planning on that.
Because this was great news for the district and our customers.
What people do read is the next door website. Mm-hmm. I'm not advocating for it because I think there's a lot of information of various sorts on there, but people do pay attention to that. And M.U.D and OPPD both have been doing a lot of announcements on there, which mm-hmm. I think is useful to people. So there's a source for you right there.
Yeah, hats off to the communications group. 5 years ago, I'm not sure we were able to utilize it Nextdoor in particular, the way we are now, you can't just post into Nextdoor. You have to be, you know, it was previously just mainly law enforcement and city government. We're now a contributor, and it really works to our advantage for many, many things. So that's been a good channel for us. Okay, next slide. Not only is repairing our gas lines that have been in the ground for a long, long time a safety issue, the emissions reductions are significant as well. I won't try to explain what 458,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide are, but it's a lot. And we do track that. Next slide. So compressed natural gas is alive and well, and fleets are utilizing it in a big way. We dispensed about 3.4 million gasoline gallon equivalents in 2023, which is almost 5,600 homes annual usage. New 15-liter CNG engine from Cummins is going to be a game changer because now there are no barriers in terms of power and all of the things that you need to haul this kind of freight around the country. So it's not the residential answer, but for fleets, you can't beat it. Renewable natural gas is another topic in the industry. We continue to take renewable natural gas off the State Street landfill, give or take about 2 homes annual usage a day. And renewable natural gas is also known as biomethane. You may have heard of it. It's where you take the emissions off of a landfill, like the State Street landfill, and you clean it up so it's clean enough to use the methane in the natural gas system. That has a lot of future here. City of Omaha's Missouri wastewater treatment plant probably will be retrofitted and moved into our system someday. I don't know how far off that is. But there's all kinds of opportunities for renewable natural gas, and it's probably, I don't know if it's net zero, but when you're taking a methane usable product off of a landfill, that's I'm going to say it is net zero, maybe less. Okay, next slide. This topic I discussed a little bit last Friday when we had the congressional delegation with us, that natural gas and the infrastructure plays a critical role in the energy transition to a lower carbon world, but it also plays a critical role in millions of households in this country that rely on natural gas to heat their homes, to heat their water. It is a life essential energy choice, and it should always be an energy choice. Renewables and the push toward renewables, which OPPD is a player in, cannot be done without natural gas backup. So about 40% of the electricity in the country is being generated by natural gas. So the push toward renewables has been a boon for the natural gas industry, but also it has put a focus on the infrastructure and the pipelines. And for the administration to have an infrastructure bill that allows $1 billion, of which we received over $35 million, to fix the natural gas grid is a great sign. There are many that think natural gas ought to be eliminated, and that's very short-sighted. That's irresponsible. We need to fix this grid in the country, and we also need to continue natural gas backing up renewables. It's a great combination. Next slide. Rick Kubat earlier mentioned LB 636, which was amended into 867. That's a very good proactive step here in Nebraska. In Berkeley, California, they put a ban on natural gas, and that was overturned. 2023 brought quite a bit of positive feedback to those ordinances that are geared at eliminating natural gas. And that won't stop. I mean, communities can get at it through permitting and those sort of things, but to have a bill that says local municipalities aren't allowed to prohibit use, delivery, conversion, or supply of natural gas to customers is a great proactive step. The Power with Purpose project that OPPD is doing, which we call Standing Bear. That's a peaking plant that'll start taking gas this summer, fully online by the fall of this year. Designed to quickly fire up and back up renewables when the sun's not shining or the wind's not blowing. Great project, coming along very well. Again, you can't have renewables without natural gas backup. You can't responsibly have renewables without natural gas backup. Great project, great hats off to the team for all the work we've done to bring that to fruition. This is one of our favorite slides when we talk about our peak shaving facilities and your support of the LNG plant expansion. I don't need to say much about that. $273 million total savings provided to our customers by our peak shaving plants from 2000 to 2023. KJ, we're not ignoring water. A couple of you joined us for the opening of the West Dodge Pump Station, another symbol of our commitment to make sure that our water system is truly the triangle of reliability, whether it's our plants, our ability to pump water and boost it, and our distribution system, and everything in between. We were tested. We had some issues at Florence that tested our triangle of reliability, and the other plants picked it up effortlessly and very well. And our community certainly responded with our request for voluntary odd-even watering. We're continuing to talk about that a little bit, and you may have noticed that it is a move that we should continue to get out there so we don't have to surprise the public with it. But my feedback from people that talk to me says, it doesn't matter to me if I water Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't. But I may not be interested in walking down and reprogramming my sprinkler. But a lot of people don't have sprinklers. So this is a discussion that those that can irrigate and can afford to irrigate need to join us to say that we want to make sure that we ease the burden on the entire system in an appropriate way so we're not spending more than we should for that behavior. Yes, Tim. Mr.
Mark,
Director Kavanaugh.
Can you talk just briefly on the Platte West response to the tornado damage? We lost power, correct? We were on generator power. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk to that for just a minute?
We lost, I'm not sure if I'm going to ask Andy to come up, but we did lose power. The tornado went over, you're talking about this Friday, went over part of our constructed wetlands. Is that right? So recall when we built Platte West, we had conditions on the permit, the 404 permit, that we construct wetlands, and some of those wetlands are at Platte West. We did lose power. I don't know if the tornado caused it or the power outages were external because of the storm. Both. Okay. Backup generation kicked in nicely. Almost didn't miss a beat. We don't think we had any, if we had any breaks because of our loss of power and kicking on to backup generation, we aren't tying it to that. So it performed, can I say extremely well? Sure looked that way to us.
How long were we on ops or generator power?
You knew when I sent the note we were still on power and we were going to stay there until the storm threat was over. Do you know how long we stayed on?
Varying times with the different storms that came through, so throughout the weekend at different times.
Yeah. We were able to go back and forth.
Another point of triangle of reliability.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's more than just water, also backups and backups to backups, and effective operation by, our systems control staff is really critical in these situations, along with the directors that control that. So,
another reason for a second ops center too.
Yes, sir.
Is had this struck 63rd at some point when we had all our eggs in the basket there, could have taken out a lot of our fleet, which would have really crippled us.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't want to always harp on that, but having all our eggs in one basket is it's time. And your support of that second construction center and our ability to effectively move our equipment around. You know, it happened when a lot of our equipment and employees were out, but in the middle of the night, it's a different story. So thank you for bringing that up.
I'm really glad we've started reminding people about the odd even watering early. We're not waiting until we're in the middle of the summer and we're in a drought and sort of like, you really better look at this. But I think we'll have to continue. It'll have to be ongoing, because once there isn't a reminder, people think it's over. So I'd suggest just a constant say, we just want to let you know again that this is the plan.
Are you aware that we are running that message on media?
On which?
On media.
Would
you send that to the board?
I hate to admit this, but I have seen it on Nextdoor.
Okay, but
which is really good.
Yeah, but also TV.
Oh, I have seen it on TV, now that you mention it. Yeah. But again, I would urge kind of an ongoing, because once people don't see it for a period of time, they think, oh, we're in the clear.
We hope all 7 of the board agrees with that. This is really not about restricting water. It's about effective use of the resource. And I can tell whenever it runs, because I get several texts saying, really, M.U.D's advertising? Well, this is more of a public service announcement, and the return on investment for this is very significant.
Well, it's a matter of fairness. I mean, we're not saying people on one side of the street can't water for a week. It's every other day. And it treats everybody the same.
It's voluntary, too, and it's amazing how people comply. It really is. Thank you. Capital improvement plans, I'm not going to talk about these. Just know that your support of our CIPs is very important. Water infrastructure replacement, I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but I would like to, since this is my 6th State of the District in this role, the journey that we've been on has been significant. When I first came into the role, we had a lot of discussions like it's time, and we didn't even have contractor partnerships at that time. It was hard to get someone to bid these types of water projects and staff up for it and buy equipment not knowing if this is going to go on. So your support of those partnerships has been critical to the success we've had. We've improved our risk model or our technology. We've improved the ability to fend off rust, otherwise known as cathodic protection. Our remote leak monitoring, we've told you a lot about that. Pressure monitoring on smart hydrants, you've heard of this. We're doing pipe bursting. We're using other products. We're doing condition assessment in a big way, and we added a crew. And I expect that'll happen in the future also after we get a new facility built. We've done 150 miles since 2008 through 2023. Next slide, please. But I did want to break it out by the team's refocus on this starting in 2019. We almost doubled our average, we have doubled our average miles and the number of miles in that 5 or 6 years compared to the previous 11, and we're on a track to keep going. Condition assessment is another key component, and if you add on 3 or 4 miles of that, we're more than double in half the time. So your support of that and your expectations are very clear. Next, please. Another view of that, of how many miles we do internally, how many miles our contractors do, and the condition assessment. Next slide, Jay. We've talked about this a lot, but if you have any questions on that, always let us know. It's the only way the water industry is going to get to where they need to get with this huge infrastructure underground in the country that needs repairing. You got to know what you have to repair right now versus what can be extended a little bit. Lead replacement strategy. You're all aware that we are going forward. You saw a bid and a bid award in the bid letter. We're starting with 50 services. The goal for the first year is still 2 to 250. focusing mainly first on daycare centers, leaking lines, and inoperable stop boxes. And if we hear of a leaking lead service, we'll take care of it. So it doesn't have to be in the program for us to take care of. That just occurred recently. So we hope to get the message out to the public. If you do have a water service that's leaking and it's lead, usually a plumber will look at it and tell them it's lead. We're trying to kind of get that message out there as well. Next, Jay. As you can see, most of them are east of 72nd, primarily in homes built prior to 1940. We have an interactive map that you'll see on the next slide that our customers can use. Yeah, it's taken a lot of work, but we're in a good spot to really move forward with our lead service line replacements. Okay. We've talked about CC1 and CC2, otherwise known as Construction Center 1 and Construction Center 2, and as Director Kavanaugh highlighted earlier, very important, not just for business continuity, but also to do the work we need to do into the future as effectively as possible. Next. We continue to get industry recognition, and we like to point that out. We, on the technology side on the left, but I'm exceptionally proud of the Governor's Wellness Award. I think we've come a long way with supporting our employees in their wellness efforts and doing everything we responsibly can as their employer. And with that, I would entertain any questions or discussions you would like to have. I missed one slide, but I don't need to say much about that other than we're always working a strategic plan in all areas.
Any questions, comments?
One comment on the strategic plan. And I think we've come a long ways on strategic plan. You know, that's something that never stops. You're always improving your strategic plan, but our business continuity plan is also something very important. And last Friday, we saw some of that kick in, and I think we've come a long ways on business continuity, and I think that's so important. I didn't see much of that. I didn't see that mentioned here.
Good point. It's part of our standard operating procedures now. We have a group focused on that, but it's really the entire organization. You should have a business continuity management program, and there's a lot of plans under the program, but I guess the part that maybe should be in here is our integration with the community. It's really amazing how well integrated we are with the community in terms of emergency response, continuity planning, and all the things that, now probably because the entire community's been through so much, I mean, it gets better and better, but we were ready for it from the pandemic all the way through the floods and tornadoes, and I don't know what's next. Something will be, though. But we do have a group focused on that, but it's really the entire employee population. I hear everybody talking. Do you have predictions? What's next? Pardon? Cicadas. Cicadas, okay. Yeah. Yeah, those are, what's the other name for those? Locusts. Locusts. Yeah, that's what I used to call them, but thank you. I was thinking grasshoppers, but we'll take a bet.
I have a question for Steve. Steve, after our response to the storms, is there some form of an after-action review on what our response was, what worked well, what didn't?
Yeah, Steve Osmore, Senior Vice President. We will have an after-action review of our actions, and we will participate with the EOC to the extent that they have an after-action process too. I think it's important to note that M.U.D brings a lot to the table, staffing, equipment that otherwise wasn't known by especially the fire department. When we have trench cave-ins, we have a lot of expertise, a lot of equipment to help in those types of incidents now that wasn't available before. So yeah, the short answer is yes.
All right, thank you, excellent.
President Doyle, thanks for the presentation. Thanks to the communication team for putting together a good PowerPoint to highlight the year that was and where we're at right now.
Okay, and I want to thank the almost 900 employees, depending on which day, for all their support and help it's a really good utility.
I thought it was a great format. It's always so good to have the pictures. The visual aids are so useful. I think you kind of get caught into the visual aids, and then you want to read the context.
With that, are there any members of the public in attendance today who would like to address the board? Seeing none, do any board members have any further comments? Seeing none, this meeting has now concluded. We will reconvene for the regular monthly board meeting in 10 minutes at 10:05, we'll say.
Are we rolling?
We are right now. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I am Jim Begley, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors. I'd like to welcome you all to the regular monthly board meeting this morning, May 1st, 2024. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Roll call, please.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here. I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the room. Now, for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion for approval of the minutes for the committee meetings and a regular board meeting for April 3rd, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Director McGowan.
I move to approve the updated prices for M.U.D service, work, and materials with an effective date of June 1st, 2024, as discussed in committee.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Director Friend.
Thank you. Item number 6, capital expenditures. This was discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Kendall Minor dated April 24th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Item number 7, change order number 1, operations center remodel. Also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from John Velaradsky dated April 16th.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Item number 8, acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates, also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Adam Gartner dated April 16th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Yes.
Item number 9, bids on materials and contracts, also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Sherry Lightfoot dated April 17th.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Item number 10, services and extensions. This is main extensions, also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Masa Nia dated April 24th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Item number 11, wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. I move for approval of the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in the memo from Ms. Savine dated April 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Director Kavanaugh.
Item 12, final legislative report to be placed on file with also accommodation for Rick for another great job and another year. Is he still here? There he is.
Can we have discussion on that? Any kind of further comment on Mr. Kubat?
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
job,
for
Rick.
your
Thank
service.
Thank you.
Item 13, settlement of Nebraska Medicine and Farmers Mutual claim for a water main break in August of 2023. Our legal staff is recommending that we enter into an agreement with Nebraska Medicine and Farmers for damages resulting from a water main break near 42nd and Farnham at the Medical Center. I move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Item 14, water rules and regulations amendments. I recommend approval of the recommendation from, again, the legal staff on some cleanup language and changes of the rules, the changes to M.U.D water rules.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes. Agenda item 15, other matters of district business for discussion. Do any board members have any further comments they wish to share at this time? Seeing none, for public comment, are there any members, excuse me, of the public present who would like to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we're not having closed session today. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes, we are adjourned at 10:13.